सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इंद्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहितः प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरं शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ओम फर्स्ट मंत्र आविसन्निहितम्। आविसन्निहितं गुहाचरं नाम आविसन्निहितं गुहाचरं नाम महत्पदम् अत्रैतत् समर्पितम् महत्पदम् अत्रैतत् समर्पितम् एजत् प्राणत् निमिषच्च यदेतत् एजत् प्राणत् निमिषच्च यदेतत् जानथ सदसद्वरेण्यम् जानथ सदसद्वरेण्यम् परं विज्ञानात् वरिष्ठं यत् वरिष्ठं प्रजानाम् परं विज्ञानात् यत् वरिष्ठं प्रजानाम्। आविहि आविष्कृतम् आविर्भूतम्। आvi means स्वप्रकाश रूपम स्पष्टम, that which is self-effulgent, that which reveals itself without the agency of sense organs or the mind, that which does not require any external light to reveal itself, that is avihi. You don't require sunlight or moonlight or any other light. Avihi prakasha swarupam, self-shining. Okay. Then sannihitam. Sannihitam means that which is very near. Okay. What is very near? How do you say very near? Because it is self-shining, but ever self-shining as the very experiencer, as the very subject. It is every experience of sparsha, shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha. It is there in and through all the experiences. It is there in every thought. It is only in the light of consciousness as though it is only in the light of consciousness as though we see the shining, we see the Vishayas being revealed to us. Otherwise, you cannot see them. So, avihi sannihitam. Now, please note here. Upadhi is antahkaranam. And Antakaranam being what it is, made up of Panchamahabhutas, Sukshma Panchamahabhutas, it is inert, it is Jadam. However, when it comes in contact with the consciousness, when it comes in contact with the Chaitanyam, it becomes sentient. Now, when we say consciousness is all pervasive, so wherever Antakaranam is, it is in contact with consciousness. Like the space is all pervasive. So wherever there is a pot, there is going to be pot space. It's natural. In a daylight, when the sun is relatively, you could say, sun is all pervasive. So wherever there is a mirror, there is going to be a reflection of sun in the mirror. Okay? So the consciousness obtains as though, as Chaitanyam, as a conscious being, as a conscious individual in an Antakarana. This manifestation is Sahaja. Like the sun being reflected in a mirror, that reflection of the sun in a mirror is Sahaja. And Agnanam being what it is, natural, that consciousness which manifests in Antakaranam as sentiency or Chetana or individual, takes itself to be individual, is natural. So existence of Aham, existence of, you can say, Ahankara is natural. In the Shastrik, this is existence of Aham is natural, but existence of Ahankara is Agnanajam, out of ignorance. That there will be sun in the mirror, but the reflected sun in the mirror taking itself to be the size of the mirror only, to be of the shape of the mirror only, is Agnanajam. So in a way, we have questions in Prakarana Granthas lot, but I'm explaining you what is it. So Sahajatadatma means manifestation of consciousness in Antakaranam is Sahajam. Okay? That Chaitanyam which obtains in Antakaranam is Sahajam. They call it Chidakash or Chidabhas, depending upon the context you have to interpret. So, Antakarana Upahita Chaitanyam means Antakarana becomes an upadhi, as though for consciousness to manifest, consciousness which is formless, without any attributes, becomes sentient, as though Antakarana becomes sentience. Sentient. So consciousness obtaining in Andhakaranam is Sahajam, and that consciousness taking itself to be only of the size of Antakaranam, that is Agnanajam Tadatmya. And that Tadatmyam with a given Antakaranam, and thereby, since Antakaranam is identified with the connected to a gross body, Antakarana becomes sentient, and thereby its sentient comes in context with the gross body. Therefore, the body also becomes sentient. So that you see an individual with a body-mind complex. Taking myself to be real, that body-mind complex is Agnanajam Tadatmya. But this Tadatmyam with a gross body will remain how long? How long the Antakaranam will be connected to this body? as long as the prarabdha lasts, as long as the karma phala lasts. So that is called karmajam tadatmya. Okay. So in a way, tadatmya means identification, manifestation. So there are three types of tadatmyam: sahajat tadatmyam, agnanajam tadatmyam, and karmajam tadatmyam. Okay. Consciousness coming in contact with the antakaranam becomes a knower. That's subject. That is natural, knowerness. But that to take the knowerness, that is agnanajam. By knowledge, we remove that. And we discover that the status of being a knower is incidental, not truly a knower. Incidentally, I happen to be knower with reference to this antakarana. An actor wearing a dress of a king, the sahajam, there will be appearance of a king. And he will have to speak the dialogues of a king. The consciousness manifested in antakaranam, or consciousness conditioned. These are the words that are used, so I'm using it. You might hear, from some Swamis. Consciousness conditioned by or in antakaranam becomes the knower. That knowerness is natural, but not to know. That knowerness is incidental. I am not really a knower. Like a king on the stage, not to recognize that kingship is incidental. I am not really a king. That is agnanajam tadatmya. So, and how long this tadatmya as a purusha or stri or man or woman, etc. will continue? Karmajam tadatmya. Karma will be there so long as the antakarana will remain connected to gross body. And when the prarabdha ends, antakarana leaves, sukshma sharira leaves the body, and then the tadatmya breaks. So, sahaja tadatmya, agnanajam tadatmya, is a sahajam is natural. We are addressing only agnanajam tadatmya. That means as long as there is sukshma sharira, as long as there is antakaranam, so long as knower pramata will be there. Okay? But to take myself as ultimate pramata is ignorance. What Vedanta or teaching works or aims at, that pramatratvam, the status of being knower or experiencer or whatever, ER, any kind of status of being ER, is incident. Ignorance, agnana tadatmya, becomes a jiva or ahankara. Because of sahaja tadatmya, there will be aham. This is my two words. What Swamiji often used is, any pramata can be called as ahankara. The ignorant ahankara and enlightened ahankara. Who is enlightened ego? The one who knows I am not really ego. I am that ego, the pramatrutvam, the I-ness is incident. And as long as, I repeat further, Sukshma Sharira is, means Antakarana is, consciousness will be conditioned, consciousness will be manifested in Antakaranam as Pramata. And that Antakaranam will continue identification with gross body as long as there is a Prarabdha. Prarabdha Kshaye, when Prarabdha means karma comes to an end, karma phala comes to an end, the Sukshma Sharira, which was as though connected, as though identified with the Sthula Sharira, will leave the body, and therefore Sthula Sharira becomes inert. What is its nature? The Sukshma Sharira continues because there is Agnanajam Tadat, there is Ahankara, there is ignorant ego. That ignorant ego continues there and moves to another yoni along with Sukshma Sharira. Or you other way around. Ego takes Sukshma Sharira to another yoni as per the karma phalas. And the new karmajam tadatmyam comes, and there is new individual. What? New identity. What? Now he was human, he or she was human being, and now Deva, Kinnar, Gandharva, or Asura, Rakshasa, or some animal, some dog or cat, maybe cat interested in Vedanta, or some tadatmya will come, some yoni will come, and that is how these three tadatmyas. So even a wise person, now I'm coming to this point which I want to make very clear. We keep hearing, ego is destroyed. And Mahatmas take all this, and and they make it little romantic. In the deep meditation, ego is destroyed. Wise man's ego is destroyed. There is no destruction of aham. Please understand. The I sense will continue. The right word is badhita ahankara. Ahankara will be there. Pramata will be there. There is a badhita ahankara. That person knows that my pramatritvam is incident. I am that pramata, and I am the prameya, and I am the prama. As we say in Gujarati, Brahma lataka kare Brahma saath. Brahma dances with Brahman. That he knows. So what happens to him or her at the time of prarabdha kshaya, when the person dies, Sthula Sharira comes to an end. That's okay. In either case, it will come to an end. Listen now. What happens to Sukshma Sharira? Sukshma Sharira, which is held together by ignorant I, Ahankara, that is no more there. So just as Panchamahabhutas, the Sthula Sharira merges in Panchamahabhutas, Sthula Mahabhutas, Sukshma Sharira also merges into Sukshma Panchamahabhutas. So there is no travel. Understand? Why there is no travel? Because the binding factor in this form to all Sukshma Mahabhutas, like when you see an ice cube, the binding factor to hold the water in that cube form is the temperature. When the temperature is no more there, it comes back to its liquid form. When this Mahapurusha wise person dies, the Sukshma Sharira is held, Pancha Mahabhutas are held together in this form. Then Pancha Gnanendriya, Pancha Karmendriya, Pancha Prana, etc., they all dissolve to Sukshma Mahabhutas. So there is no travel. And that individual which was there before the death, that individual was incident. He knew I am incidental individual. There is no more individual because Sukshma Sharira is not there and there is no reflection of consciousness in Sukshma Sharira. So there is no Pramata anymore. Understand? Therefore, it is said, Yad Gatva na nivartante. Why na nivartante? Pramata was born out of ignorance. I mean, Sahaja Tadatmya. An ego was that ignorant ego was born out of ignorance. Ignorance being removed, Sukshma Sharira being dissolved, there is no individuality. Therefore, there is no rebirth for wise person. It is very fascinating to hear the stories that such and such a Mahatma came back after 300 years. When he died, he said, I'll come back in the form of my disciple, blah, blah, blah. And they are there, these Mahatmas are there in galaxy, in a star form and things like that, they say. They take rebirth and serve the society and all that. I am not denying the possibilities of Mahatmas taking rebirth. He or she may have that power. But the fact that there is a rebirth, that means what? Sukshma Sharira is not dissolved. That means that person is not wise. In only and only in the case of wise person, the binding factor for the Sukshma Sharira, ignorance, is dissolved, is gone long before. So it gets dissolved, and therefore for a wise person there is no rebirth. Understand this. Again, just conclude. Consciousness conditioned or manifesting through Sukshma Sharira, primarily Antakaranam, there is a Pramata. It is natural. Sahajata Datmam it is called. Natural manifestation of consciousness in the form of individual Pramata, experiencer, knower, etc. Doer, etc. But to take that Pramatrutvam as real or the ultimate is Agnanajam Tada. If one wears a dress of a king, appearance of a king is natural, but to take myself as really a king is ignorance. You may continue to be a king, behaving yourself as a king, but knowing fully well that the kingship is incidental. So that is a wisdom. So also wise man continues to be an individual, Pramata. But that person knows that my individuality is incident. That Sahajatadatma will come to an end only at the end, only when ignorance is gone and when the Prarabdha Kshay takes place. Prarabdha Kshay takes place. There is no Sukshma Sharira to continue further. And that Karmajam Tadatma, Sthula and Sukshma Sharira identification will continue as long as there is a Prarabdha. Okay? So, that is Sannihitam. Therefore, it is said, in Dakshinamurti Stotram, Balya Dishwapi Jagrada Dishutatha Sarvasvavastasvapi Vyavrittasvanuvartamanamaham Ityantaspurantam Sada. It reveals itself as I in every state. Whether it is childhood, youth or old age, or whether it is waking, dream or sleep, in every state, in every experience, there is I. Because you cannot have an experience without I, the experiencer. The very consciousness manifests naturally because of Sukshma Sharira as an experience. Why it happens, how God only knows. Don't ask me. God has created such a way, Sukshma Sharir, in such a way that it reflects the consciousness. It conditions the consciousness. It manifests the consciousness as pramata. So that is I rupena, aham rupena sannihitam. Okay. Sannihitam means samyak nihitam, samyak sthitam. Where is this samyak sthitam? Buddhau sthitam, antakarane sthitam. Kim rupena, aham rupena. In the sense of I. And either way you can say. This is as a consciousness. But it is closest. It is closer. It is very close. Why? Whatever is, that is isness, belongs to consciousness. Asthirupena, sadrupena sannihitam. Whatever is near you, a pen or a mobile or a car, even your body, even a shirt, even a dress, that is, yes, that is nothing but consciousness. Sadeva saumya idam agrahasit. That sad vastu is there. So sadrupena, in English you can say is rupena. Is rupena. It is near. So sannihitam. Okay. The closest is your consciousness. In which way? It is the very substratum. It will come in the next mantra. But then this is how these three words you should know. Sahajatadatmyam, Ajnanajam tadatmyam, and Karmajam tadatmyam. The natural identification or manifestation, ignorance-born identification, and karma-born. And if you are clear about this, you can understand that there is no rebirth for wise person. It is like a cube of ice or iceberg dissolves into water. Then there is no possibility that iceberg coming in another form. That particular iceberg. Water may come in another form because of the cold. May I assume, that's separate. Don't stress the example. My point only is this much. Once a cube of ice is dissolved into water, there is no possibility of same cube or same quantity of water or the same water, quantum of water becoming the cube again. So also wise person doesn't have any rebirth. It's quite fascinating to hear that Mahatmas took rebirth. And if Mahatma says, this is my second birth, better take Ashirvad. That's good to take Ashirvad. And taking his blessings. And seek that let my antakarana be shuddham. And let me have Shraddha and walk away. Okay? Don't go for Siddhi. This Mahatma may have Siddhi to be reborn. But we don't want Siddhi. Ultimately, what we want is freedom from birth and death. And that is possible only and only when you have knowledge. Okay? That is why sannihitam. I took this opportunity to explain this because I hear there is a lot of confusion. There is a confusion in confusion. Okay. So I hear people, for last 2-3 days, I have been meeting such devotees about whose gurus have taken rebirth and they are glorifying them and telling me all kinds of things. So excited. They were a little disappointed seeing no reaction or no excitement or enthusiasm on my face. I said, so what? It's okay, that's good. I respect that, but I don't want that. I don't want that darshanam anything. This is okay, knowledge, but then I can't explain. Anyway. Avi sannihitam. Because of these three tadatmya, one of them is agnanajam. It is called guhacharam. Guhacharam. That means that which moves in the cave. Okay. Well, how does it moves in the cave? Keeps moving, coming and going and moving inside. It is a cave, is a figurative usage. When there is a cave, there is darkness. That means there is ignorance. And there is a movement, in ignorance. What? That consciousness is invariable. That pramata is invariable. In what? Rupa pramada, ranga pramada, shabda pramada, gandha pramada, swada pramada. The knower who knows shabda sparsha rupa, whether he knows the sound or taste or form or even emotions and then cognitions and knowledge and ignorance, in all that knower, it is consciousness is moving around. But it is guhacharam. Why? Guha means darkness. That knower is ignorant. Every role of seer, thinker, feeler, etc. is taken to be real, and therefore it is called guhacharam. In fact, without the consciousness, no experience is possible. Without consciousness being there, reflected in antahkarana, manifesting in antahkarana or being conditioned by antahkarana, there is no experience possible. All the experiences. Because an experience is there only when experiencer is there. All experiencer are there only because of consciousness. Okay. So, Guhacharam Nama. Nama means famous. It is known as the one who is moving around in the cave. Cave of ignorance. Cave of darkness. Means, I take myself as pramata knower, but then I take myself as seer, hearer, thinker, feeler, and then what is real? I am husband, I am wife, I am brother, I am sister, I am son, I am father, I am mother. Moment you take this as real, the stress becomes real. There is a stress to father, there is a stress to mother, there is a stress to brother, there is a stress to son, everything. That is called spacing, I have been telling. You have to have a cognitive space. Space born out of the wisdom. It's okay, incidentally, I have problems. I'll deal with it. I don't take that to be so real that I get carried away. The fact that you get carried away, that is agnanajam tadatmya. Identification born out of ignorance. Okay? In every experience, there is a consciousness. Therefore, guhacharam nama mahat padam atra etat samarpitam. Mahat padam. Padam, padaniyam, gamaniyam, abode. And mahat means limitless. It is the limitless abode for everything. Means everything is in it. Nothing is away from it. When you say limitless abode of everything, it is limitless. Why is everything else possible? Limitlessness is not only spatial or time-wise, objectivity-wise also. So it is limitless. You can be limited. When I say I am a man or a woman, I am limited. When I say I am husband or a brother or father, I am limited. So that is why Anantam Brahma, Desha, Kala, Vastu, Paricheda Shuddha. There is no limitations. Any kind. Neither in terms of Desha, space, nor in terms of Kala, time, nor in terms of objectivity. So everything is manifestation of consciousness. That Mahat Padam, and that is Padaniyam, Gamaniyam, Prapaniyam. There is something to be gained, something to be achieved, and therefore it is Varenyam. So the Sat Varenyam, second line, Etat ejat pranat nimishat yadejat janatah. Yad ejat, that which moves, nimishat, that way that moves, blinks the eyes, and pranat, that it breathes. That means all kinds of activity. That pramata is not, when I say pramata, pramatrutvam, status of being knower, it implies status of being doer as well. And the doership is also incident. Knowership is also incident. Like a king, kingship is incident. That's a knowledge. That is called badhita ahankara. That is called enlightened ego. Ego means individuality, in a way, you can say that. So I sense will be there always. Even the person is wise, he or she will be asked, hey, what's your name? I am Swami so and so. He will, oh, I am Brahman. Satchidanandam Brahman. And that too at the US airport on immigration counter. That Satchidananda Brahman will come back to India from where it is originated. That individuality will be there. That person will say, I am hungry, I am thirsty, I have this problem. It's okay. But the person is aware, is enlightened ego, that hunger is incidental, thirst is incidental. So-called pleasure and pain are also incident. Swarupataha, by nature, I am not the pramata. So, pramata means knower as well as doer. Any kind of experiencer. This fellow, the experiencer, is the same. Ejat pranat nimishatcha. Yadetat janat. May you know that. What? Sadasat. It is sat as well as asat. And then what is that? He says varenyam. Uru vara. Enyam varenyam. Varenyam means that which is to be worshipped. That which is prarthani, most respectful, most adorable, most desired. Right? How do you say, Swamiji, how do you say consciousness is most desirable? Consciousness. I think the most desirable is happiness in my life. I am not interested in consciousness. What is most sought after is happiness. That is what it is. What we call as consciousness is happiness as well. Therefore, Varenyam. No. Swamiji, I am not interested in happiness. I seek love. I want to love somebody. I want to love somebody, and I want myself to be loved by somebody. That is also consciousness. Because only, see, this love and ananda are synonyms. When there is happiness, there is love. And in any moment of love, there is happiness. Whether you love an object or love a person or love a situation or love a time. Like I love to get up in the morning. I love to sit alone in the morning. It is anything. So ananda and prema is same. Understand? Therefore it is varenyam. In fact, just to understand this, what does it mean by ananda? Ananda is ananda. People translate it as bliss. Ananda is bliss. So then it makes it mystic. If it is bliss, then again experiential bliss and all kinds of elbow is there. And that elbow, because of that elbow room, they make all kinds of mistakes or create confusion. How does an ananda or consciousness manifest at the level of pramata? This is the manifestation. Manifestation of Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma at the level of Antakaranam is in the form of love, is in the form of peace. So wherever you have love, wherever you experience love, remember that is expression of consciousness. Which consciousness? Which is Chidananda, which is consciousness as well as Ananda Swarupaha. Okay? I love that gives me Ananda. And in every moment of Ananda, whatever is Ananda Rupa for me is object of love. Okay? That's why Yajnavalkya says, Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Idam Priyam Bhavati. You love something for Ananda. Atma means is Ananda. You don't love something which doesn't give you Ananda. You love only those things which gives you Ananda. What is Ananda? Sense of self-satisfaction, sense of self-acceptance, sense of fullness, sense of self-contentment. That is Ananda. Momentarily is known, experientially Atma is known. When you have some your most beloved, most liked object or most liked person or most liked situation, then you are contented, happy, sukhi. This got through and I'm happy. But then, since it comes from external world, and world being in a constant state of flux and change, the Ananda goes, happiness goes, peace goes, and you are back to pieces. Okay? you are at peace, then you are back to pieces. They say, this India also have started. In the Christians, they write on the grave, R.I.P. or Vishwa and so R.I.P. Rest in peace. As long as that ahankara is there, ignorant pramata is there. If I use Swamiji's idiom, as long as the idiot is there, he cannot rest in peace. Idiot means ahankara. Not only cannot rest in peace, that fellow will not allow others also to rest in peace. It is you wish that RIP, they say, hope that fellow rests in peace, but doesn't rest in peace, From there also, even if he's a believer, faithful, the fellow is waiting on Qayamat day so that he can go to heaven and have hooray. So he's not in peace there. Or other guy may be wanting to having eternal dinner with the God, so not rest in peace. This is all wishful thinking, and Indians keep writing RIP. There is no resting for Indians. We as a Hindu should never use this word. Why? They say you hang on here in a grave till the day of judgment comes. Shastra is very clear. Moment the fellow leaves this body, that Jivatma immediately takes to the new body, and not takes to it. It is on the route to the new body, like GPS. When you put GPS, it tells you, after 20 kilometers, turn right, turn left, etc. So through Varsha, through rains, etc., Chandrayana, Surya Marga, etc., then again the fellow comes back, goes to given male and then woman, everything decided. Is pakka. Sure, no choice. So there is no resting in peace. Therefore, we don't bury, we just burn them. Because the fellow has already gone for further journey. He has started proceeding. Moment you leave, you are on the way. And there is a simile given in Upanishads. How it is, what they live in, what's a rebirth? It is exactly like mountaineering. When you put your foot here, you have reached that point, then you lift the foot, second foot, which is below, or maybe 2 feet here. And then you lift one foot to the top and press a little bit. Make sure that this particular point I can get back. I can lift myself to there, and that particular surface will hold me properly. And then only you leave the next, which is below. Then only you lift it and come here. Till then, when you are not sure for this particular particular step, you don't leave this. So Jivatma, before living, it is certain. Here, in example, we individually do it, but that karma phalas are ready to take the Jivatma to a given yoni as per the karmas and karma phalas, and through different route. The trajectory is already decided. So there is no question of rest in peace. Nowadays, we get these advertisements in newspaper, formally so and so, 1944 to 2021, June or whatever date they will write. And then formally they used to write, Nainam Chindante Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavaka, etc. Now they write RIP, rest in peace. Idiot, your thinking is in pieces. You don't know what is Hindu. Though you call yourself to be Hindu, your thinking is in pieces, parts and bits. Better don't write that. Anyway, coming back to that, Varenyam, so the Varishtham. Varishtham means what? Sarva dosha rahitam. Okay. Sadasad Varenyam Param Vignanat Varishtham Prajana. Varishtham means Vignanat Varishtham Param. So Param goes with Vignan. Vignanat Param means it's not an object of sense organs, because it is the very subject. True object is manifestation of that same consciousness. It is superimposed on that. It is not away from it. But then it is the very subject. To imply that, it is said Vignanat Param. It is beyond, as though all that you know, all that is knowable, and all the knowledge that you have, it is beyond. You see this, understand clearly. Every knowledge is possible because of it, because it is a substance. And at the same time, Shruti says in the same breath that it is beyond all. Okay. I said it is the very pramata. That pramata is prameya. Pramata, pramaya, prama. Known knowledge. Everything is manifestation of one consciousness. But at the same time, it is beyond known, means it is the very subject. To remove the objectivity in our search, to remove the sense of a sense that Brahman is separate from me, different from me. As of now, I am Jiva and I have to gain Brahman. To remove that division sense, it is said, Vignanat Param. It is beyond any knowledge. What does it mean, beyond any knowledge? It cannot be object of any kind of sense perception. Na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, no mano, na ityadi, the mantras are there. It is to imply the seeker naturally looks for a Brahman, something different from more so in a modern times. They want to know Brahman as an experienced Brahman, not knowing, experiential knowledge they want. And then they coin this word. If you don't have experiential knowledge, it is indirect knowledge. And when you gain a direct experiential knowledge, it is called direct knowledge. And this all direct, indirect is of not understanding what it is. It is always knowledge is knowledge. There is no direct and indirect in case of Brahman, whether you know it or you don't know it. So, Varenyam Param Vignana, because it is not an object of perception, much less object of experience. You are experiencing a given state of mind, and in that state, if you say I experience Brahman, that means you don't know Brahman. You cannot experience Brahman. Nobody can experience Brahman, because it is the very experiencer. And that being the case, Varenyam, and then he says Varishtham Prajanam, most exalted amongst all beings. It is most pure. It is most untouched compared to all other objects. Among all the objects, it is most pure, or you can say purest of the pure. Therefore, Bhagavan Vishnu Sahasram Nam we say, Pavitranam Pavitram Yo, Mangalanam Cha Mangalam. That's in this sense. It is most pure. It is ever pure. So much of ever purity that it cannot be contaminated in any which way. Why it cannot be contaminated in any which way? Because the very substratum of knowledge is that Brahman. Therefore, Varenyam Sarvadosha Rahitam Varishtham Sarva Prakriya Varjitam Varishtham means Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhava. It is ever pure, it is ever enlightened. Nitya Shuddha Buddha and Mukta, it is ever free. And that is you. Why? Sannihitam. It's not simply Atma, Aksharam, Brahman is like that. Then again we start objectifying. Oh, Brahman is like that, and I am Jiva, and I am a small man, and Brahman is a big thing, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, Bhagavan, I want to see you, blah, 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 someday. That's okay. But then that individual is the Brahman. Okay? Everything is atra etat samarpitam. In that first line, Mahat Padam atra etat samarpitam. So everything is surrendered. In a sense, it is the very substratum of everything. Anything is because of consciousness. Anything shines, moves, acts, does, experiences is all because of the same consciousness, and therefore it says Mahat Padam Pranam Varishtham Prajana, most exalted among the Praja. Okay. We'll continue on next week, hopefully. Okay. 99% I wish to take, and we will be able to take. I will be at Ahmedabad. And the classes, when public talks, will be 6:30 to 7:30 there. Or maybe 8. So I'll take the class. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.